We'll start the class with the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishna Te Jagat Kurum. So we are studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. This chapter is called Shaitra, Shaitaraknya, Vibhaga Yoga. This is a technical chapter and very useful for those people who are interested in experiencing the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, experiencing it in themselves. Suppose you say, no, I don't want to experience the knowledge in myself, then this chapter is not really very important. But if you want to, if you are very keen, if you are keen on study of the Vedanta and for moksha, for liberation, and to understand exactly what liberation itself is, this chapter is very useful. What we have seen so far, 3 verses, and these 3 are they are the foundation verses of this chapter. And what we should understand in general is I am made up of 2 aspects. One is the matter principle, which is seen. Here we are talking about the core of our personality. What does this I mean? Aham. So what I see in me is the body. The physical body is seen. All of us. This is common to, it's a universal thing. It's common to all of us. So the seen is the body. It is experienced very, very well, very clearly. We know the weight of the body, we know the features of the body, we know whether it is old or young. Now, these are features which we all know. The second aspect about us is our mind. This is a very, very important subject matter. Vedanta lays a lot of stress on the mind. Mind is a subtle body. It is only known to us. What I am thinking the whole day is only known to me. It is not known, it is not even known to my spouse, it's not known to my children, and so on. What I think, my emotions. So that Bhagavan Lord Krishna says is also seen. Seen means known, experienced. In this chapter, we must be very clear that the mind is an object of experience. It must be it must be a fact for us. Then only you will understand this real meaning of Shaitaraknya. Many of us, we go through this whole chapter without knowing the meaning of Shaitaraknya. The Lord is trying to explain to us what is the Shaitaraknya. Shaitaraknya means the spiritual principle. As I said in the beginning, we have 2 aspects. One is the matter principle. The second is the spiritual principle. If we do not come to the Bhagavad Gita, or if we don't come to any spiritual study, we will always live our life as the physical body. you must be very clear in this also, that we all will be living a life of our physical existence. We will not even be aware of the mind. We will not be, we will be aware into a certain extent, but a very, very small, negligible knowledge we'll have about our mind. That's all. But Vedanta, once we come to the spiritual study, especially the chapter 13, here the Lord gives us another vision about ourselves. And that vision lies beyond the mind. So we have to take the third step. That means know the physical existence, know the mental existence, the mind and its conditions. And then the Lord is now going to teach us how to look beyond the mind and experience our spiritual existence. We all have a spiritual existence. There is no doubt about it, because every day we experience that. Not only we experience, it is our nature. Our nature means this is what I am. Ultimately, that is what I am. I am the spiritual essence in this body. That is the final teaching in our study of the Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter explains to us how I can go step by step and understand my spiritual existence. Very beautiful chapter. This chapter 13, 14, and 15. 3 chapters put together is called as Jnana Yoga. We have seen Karma Yoga, which deals with action. How to act in the world. What type of actions I should do? What should be the process by which I should act in the world? What should be my responses in the world? And how to lead a good life. That's it. Now, Jnana Yoga does not deal with action. It only deals with knowledge. Because the spiritual essence is always there, but I am not aware of it. There is something which covers this this spiritual essence in me, and that covering is called as Maya Shakti. It is called as the ignorance. It is also called as our sleep state. This is how slowly we understand how to go beyond the body and mind. Because in the waking state, it's very difficult for us to segregate very clearly. Like I can say, this is my hand, this is my leg, this is my head, this is my waist. I can see the parts. But when it comes to the spiritual essence, it is partless. There is no attribute. It is just one principle in me. And the beauty is, it is the one principle not only in my body, it is the same principle in all the bodies. In the whole universe, it's the same one spiritual essence. So you can imagine how difficult it is for a teacher to explain the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the spiritual subject matter. Very difficult, but still Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahma-Sutra, they are able to convey this. They are able to make the seeker realize. That is why people come to this study. There are millions of people who study this, but there are people who understand also. They also understand. It's not that I am the first person trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So we slowly understand step by step, and Lord Krishna teaches this, the spiritual essence in us, very, very beautifully in this chapter. And we have seen the matter principle is called as Shaitram. Two words we must always remember throughout the study of this chapter. And not only we must know the two words, we must also know the total meaning of it. What is Shaitram? What is Shaitaraknya? So what we have seen in the first three verses is Shaitram means all objects of experience. The body, the mind, and through the body and mind, the entire world. So this is what is called a Shaitra. What is Shaitaraknya? Shaitaraknya is the seer, the conscious principle which is observing this body. It is the Sakshi. It is got tremendous power. It can make the body mind known in the waking state. It can make the body mind unknown in the sleep state. That is the power of this, that is the Shakti of this Shaitaraknya. That is what we call it as God. That is what we call it. There are different names we give, but the essence is this, that this Shaitaraknya, the seer, the knower principle in this body is the consciousness. It is called a Shaitaraknya. And how to understand this two principle is the subject matter of the whole 13th chapter. What is Shaitram? What is Shaitaraknya? In three different approaches, Lord Krishna will teach us. First, he will teach us these two by the same words, Shaitram and Shaitaraknya. Then he will take two other words to explain the same thing again, which is called as Jnanam and Jneyam. Then he will take another two words to explain the same Shaitram and Shaitaraknya, which is called as Prakriti and Purusha. All of them are talking of ultimately one essential principle, which is the Shaitaraknya, in which the entire universe comes, in which the entire universe gets dissolved. It goes into unmanifest condition. This is the way we understand the spiritual essence in us. This is the way the Upanishads have taught us how to realize who am I and what benefit do I get out of this knowledge. I will be a free person. I will not be having any identification with the sorrows in my mind as my sorrows. You will just be objective and say these are all the sorrows existing in the body level, in the mind level. I am different than the body and mind. I am the spiritual essence. I am the Shaitaraknya. I am the knowing principle. I am different from them. And in me, all these are happening, but I am unaffected by whatever happens in the universe. Birth, death, nothing affects me, the Atma. This Shaitaraknya is also called as Atma. So with this brief introduction to what we have covered so far, I will now get into the fourth verse where we stopped last week, and we will now get into the fourth verse. Tat Kshetram Yatcha Yat Krishcha Yad Vikari Yatascha Yat Sachayo Yat Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Me Shrunu. This is an introduction verse of what we are going to study up to the 7th verse. From 4 to 7, we are going to talk about Kshetram. the field in which we all experience the world. So here is an introductory verse. Here it says the Lord is going to teach us the nature of Shaitram, the characteristics. That is what is called as Yat Drikcha. Then what are the modifications of this Shaitram? Shaitram means basically 5 elements. That's very simple. In simple terms, it means the 5 basic elements. Yatascha yat mean from what comes what. That means we will see once you go through this. Today we'll see the 7 up to 7th verse. We'll probably be able to complete it. So you will see what comes from what, from the gross element what comes, from the subtle element what comes. Therefore, how do I experience the world of matter, which is the world of 5 elements? Then prabhavascha. Prabhava means what are the glories of this creation. So Kshetram is an upadhi. Upadhi means it is a medium of transaction. Medium of transaction. So like I put on a specs in the morning to do all my transactions. Specs is a medium. A doctor will put on a stethoscope, and then he will, that is the medium through which he conducts his whole day. So similarly, there are so many people. A policeman will put on a uniform. That is the medium in which he will operate. When he goes back, he will remove the medium, and then he will be a householder. So the body, mind, and intellect, all 3 are supposed to be mediums. Therefore, in order to understand the Shaitaraknya, I should know that I put on this medium and I put off this medium. For normal transactions in the worldly angle, I don't need to have this knowledge. But when I want to understand the spiritual essence in me, I should know that I put on a vesham, I put on the coat of body, mind, and intellect in the waking state. I remove this coat in the sleep state. I reside in my original form as Shaitaraknya. How does this happen? It happens. Now that is a fact of this whole universe. It happens. This is what is the teaching in the Bhagavad Gita. This is how the Upanishads tell us who I am. What happens to the doership, sense of doership, enjoyership? You may have this question. I go to office, I work the whole day, I'm involved in the kitchen, cooking the whole day. All this, what the Lord says is, these are all attributes of the body and mind, and they are held together by the ego I, the ahamkara I. So the ego I, as soon as it wakes up, the ego I takes over and starts transacting with the world. And while transacting, it has sukham dukkham. That means joy and sorrow. Whole day is just interaction with the world. If you really look at the final result of all the actions we do, it can be many joys and many sorrows. I had a good lunch today, I felt good. I didn't have a good lunch today, I felt bad. These are all small, little joys and sorrows we go throughout our life. My child gets an admission in a good school, I feel joy. I didn't do so well in the exam, I feel sorrowful. I didn't get an increment in the office, I feel sorrowful. These are all small events which happen in a jiva's life. The jiva is predominantly the ego in us. This body and mind when they interact with the world, there is a sense of I-ness which is born, and we all feel that I am that. What Lord Krishna is teaching us here is that sense of perception, the sense of I-ness is only a perception, apparent perception, like the rope snake, like the mirage water, like the wave. It just comes and it goes. It just comes and it goes. It's a wave after wave. It just comes and goes. These are all thoughts, bubbling thoughts in the mind. But that is not my real nature. I am the seer of those thoughts. I am the experiencer of those thoughts. I exist before the thoughts come. I exist after the thoughts come, after the thoughts go. I am that conscious principle. I am, I am, I am. That is called as Shaitaraknya. Shaitram is the mind, which is coming and going, wavering nature of the mind. All that is what the Lord says is all that exists, no doubt. The physical existence is there, but don't take it as your ultimate existence. The ultimate existence is the Shaitaraknya. It is the consciousness, and segregate the two. Understand how to segregate the two. Go beyond the sleep state and ask, I am existing in my sleep state. Who am I? Then you will come to know the substratum of this I, the substratum of this ego I. The ego I, which gets honor, dishonor, joy and sorrow, heat and cold. These are all opposites experiences. But the knower, the Shaitaraknya, is the spiritual essence. Another word for this ego I is mithya. Mithya means it appears and disappears. Appears, disappears. It is also called as idam, idam vritti. This thought, it is there in the mind. Aham vritti and idam vritti, they together constitute our entire transactional nature. The aham vritti means the ego. The ego I is also called as aham. With reference to this ego I, the seer is called as sakshi. With reference to the ego, that means the moment the body mind is woken up in the morning, the ego I is there. The seer of that is the sakshi. And the sakshi exists without the body mind principle. That is why it is called as Satyam. Whereas body, mind, and the world is called as Mithya. We need to understand this through this technical study. Then only my intellect will hold on to the real I, the Shaitaraknya, the spiritual essence as the truth. You may ask why you are introducing so many words and so on, but this is to help our intellect, because our intellect, our mind and intellect instrument which we have in this body will never get satisfied without reasoning. Yukti. Even though I am the Shaitaraknya, I don't know that I have the Hanubhava. So what we generally do is we use three parameters. Shruti, that means the statement of the Bhagavad Gita. We use reasoning, yukti, and we use anubhava. Anubhava means my own personal experience. Bhagavad Gita is not a belief. Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna Arjuna, you see, you experience yourself. You tell me who you are. I will explain to you, but then you can experience it yourself. You are not the body. He explained right in the second chapter itself in the 20th verse. The body is born, the body will go, but you are not the body. Again and again, he is emphasizing that same truth. There is a relationship between that spiritual essence in me and the body. What is that relationship? That relationship is an association which is called as substratum superimposed relationship. It is a seeming relationship because it is not factual. This ego I is a temporary appearance in the waking state. In the sleep state, it doesn't exist. And beyond that is the essence, which is the Atma. There is no real connection between the world and the knower. Knower means Shaitaraknya. No real connection. But apparent connection is there. That sambandha, that relationship is called as adhyasa adhisthana sambandha. Superimposition. To understand superimposition, very simple. Dreamer I and waker I. What is the relationship between the dreamer who was dreaming yesterday night and who is the waker now? Try to understand what is the relationship. It is the relationship of the same. Adhyasa, adhisthana. For the dreamer, the waker is the substratum. And similarly, Lord Krishna says, for the waker, there is a substratum called as Atma, which is what we are in our sleep state, but with the knowledge of Atma. Normal person will go to sleep and he will never know that he is the Atma. An intellect which is aided by the Shastras and reasoning will be the instrument which will claim I am Atma. A normal mind will not be able to claim. That is why we study the Shastra. That is why we study the scriptures. So that my mind, I use it along with the principles given to me by the Bhagavad Gita, and together with that, I use that instrument, the same instrument by which I operate in the world every day. My mind has got the ability to experience, perceive this world of five senses. The same mind, I try to withdraw, use this knowledge, and then understand the real nature of that mind. So understanding the Satyam and Mithya relationship. Satyam means Atma, Mithya means the mind. That is a very, very important step in the spiritual journey. There is one step which we do before this, that is Atma Anatma Viveka. Tattvabodha very clearly says this. Vivek Chudamani, the text which is called as Vivek Chudamani, its main focus is Atma Anatma Viveka. That means my mind learns to discriminate between the body and the seer of the body. The seeing principle is pure consciousness. And I have to own it up and say, I am that pure consciousness. And then you will be able to know the mind. You will be able to objectify the mind. This is what we attempt to do in meditation. We sit for 5 minutes every day, without fail every day for 5 minutes. Watch our mind. See the mind, because the more you come to realize what the mind is, the more deeper you will have the knowledge of Atma. Because there has to be someone which is seeing the mind. The mind is a seen object. It is known. It is known to you because you intensely experience it. Joy or sorrow is experienced by us. But what is the nature of that sorrow which I experience is what is the central theme of chapter 30. So fourth verse is an introduction verse. Now Bhagavan in 5, 6 and 7, 3 verses, he will describe what is Kshetram. Rishibir Bahuda Geetam Chandomsi Vividhai Prithak Brahma-Sutra Padaschaiva Hetu Madhir Vinishchitaihi. So again, here the Lord is trying to give us that I am not the first teacher. He says so many rishis have taught the same Atma principle. They have sung in so many different ways. Vasishta Muni in Ramayanam, he was the guru of Lord Rama, Vasishta Muni. And Yoga Vasishta is a very, very huge text of some 34,000 verses or something. So it talks about the same Atma principle. Puranas, they talk about the same Atma. Valmiki, Ramayanam. So many different texts in India, they have been teaching this same Atma, Anatma, subject, object, relationship has been sung. So Bhagavad Gita is also a song of the same existence principle, the consciousness principle, the Bhagavan, the Lord, which is in that form of consciousness. So here he says that this is not the first time this is a teaching. It has come along with the creation itself. Normally, when we say seeing, I see something, normally we refer to the perceptual part. I see through my eyes, I hear through my ears, I smell. These are all, we generally call it as seeing. Seeing means percepting. We are perceptually experiencing the world. And whatever we experience is called as Jagat. It is called as the world. And this seeing involves always two things. That means the sense organs and the objects. But what the rishis are seeing is something which cannot be seen by the physical eyes. Rishayaha mantra drishtantara. That means through the mantras, they have seen something in the same world which we don't see. For example, I'm telling you that what the Upanishads declare is an unmanifest principle of Prakriti. This nature, this 5 elements, has got a manifestation and unmanifestation. Manifestation in the waking state, unmanifestation in the sleep state. This is almost like a magic show. And the Lord is the magician. It is happening to us every single day. Without fail, we go to sleep, we get up. Again, we go to sleep, we get up. What is the cause of this waking and sleep? Waking and sleep. This is Lord's creation. This is what is called as Ishvara, the principle of Ishvara. That is what the rishis have discovered. So here Lord Krishna is saying, I am now going to tell you the Kshetram, which the rishis have experienced it in their meditative nature. Valmiki, Vasishta, Yajnavalkya, these are all different rishis. They are all very, very prominent rishis. They are the gurus, they are the teachers. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajnavalkya is a guru, Acharya. So Vedas, they reveal the Kshetram, the field, and Shaitaknya, the knower consciousness. Normally, Vedas are divided into two portions, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda means all the actions which we are supposed to do and which you are not supposed to do. It contains 5 different types of actions. Nishiddha karma, I have not put it here. Nishiddha karma means prohibitive actions. Prayashchitta karma means the actions we do in order to neutralize the effect of papam. Then we have 3 types of other karmas, which is called as nitya, naimitya, kamya karma. The 5 actions together is the portion dealing with karma kanda, which is the ritualistic portion in the Vedas. Then Veda Anta, that means the end portion of the Vedas, it is called as Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda means it deals with Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Together it is called as Jnana Yoga. So here what the teaching is that Karma Kanda, once we perform the different types of rituals, we purify the mind. We make the mind ready to listen to the Bhagavad Gita. Without purification of the mind, none of us can even listen to the Bhagavad Gita. It's not possible. So all of us have got some purity of mind because we are in the subject matter. We are able to at least come to Gita. There are so many millions of people in the world. How many people come? Very few. And those people who come have purified the mind. And now they are trying to discipline the mind to think correctly by learning the knowledge of this Shaitaraknya. Another text which is also very popular for the students in the spiritual study is Brahma-Sutra. You may have all heard about it. Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and Brahma-Sutra, they constitute the 3 textbooks of spiritual study called as Prasthanatrayam. And they describe what is the subject matter in the Brahma Sutra. It is the same Shaitaraknya principle, but in very big detail. They take certain topics from the Upanishads and they analyze those topics. They take certain sentences from the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is straight away 18 chapters. Upanishads are texts which reveal this consciousness much more in detail. And Brahma Sutras it is a textbook which deals with certain sentences from the Upanishads which are controversial sentences. They make it more clear. So when we study all these 3 together, we get the final conviction that I am that pure consciousness. So the study of we are just started in the spiritual study. We still have to do the Upanishads, we have to do the Brahma Sutras, and then we can say, yes, I understand the 13th chapter well, only after we complete the full study. Generally, this Shaitaraknya is described either directly or indirectly. When you describe the Shaitaraknya, that means, again, always remember Shaitaraknya means I. Don't think it is something which they are talking about, something which is paroksham. That means it is lying somewhere and all that. It's not lying anywhere. It is our own spiritual essence. It's me, the Shaitaraknya. So my nature is sometimes given directly to me, taught to me by the Upanishads. Here I'm quoting 3 Upanishads: Taittiriya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which give the definition of what is this knowing principle, what is this consciousness principle, which the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita is teaching me as my real nature. The direct definition is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. It's called as Swarupa Lakshana. Swarupa means the nature, intrinsic nature, not the incidental nature. And they have described this in a beautiful verse. I will give the verse detail once we go to the next slide. I will show all the references which I'm quoting here. I will give the verses. You can see the meaning. But here, just to understand, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. This is the definition of my spiritual essence. What Satyam means, we have to go to the Upanishads to understand. Jnanam, what is Anantam? They're all the topics discussed in the Upanishads. This comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. This is a direct definition. For example, suppose you want to know heat, you want to know fire, you want to describe fire. So I can describe it as it is heat principle. The hotness in a fire is its nature. Sugar is sweet. Sweetness is its nature. Similarly, I am Atma, I am consciousness, I am pure awareness. Pure awareness, that's my nature. That awareness doesn't die. That awareness is not changing. When I am at home, I am. When I go to office, I am. So whichever place I go, I am is not changing. I go to California, I am. I travel. The body is traveling, I am never changes. That is the knowing principle. That is the consciousness principle. So I am, the consciousness principle, is not affected by space. Very important. I'm going deep into the subject matter to reveal to you this nature of consciousness. This is called as this Sat principle. It is changeless. Jnanam. Jnana means consciousness, awareness, knowledge. Last week, I was conscious. Today, I am conscious. Tomorrow, I will be conscious. Consciousness has not changed. That means consciousness is not affected by time. Very important principle. Consciousness is not affected by space. Consciousness is not affected by time. I am this consciousness is the truth. And this is what I am in my sleep state, beyond the sleep state. The sleep state belongs to the mind. I am is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Anantam means limitless consciousness. It is not limited by time or space or objects in creation. This is the revelation of direct definition. Whatever the advanced texts reveal as my nature, as I am not affected by time, not affected by space, I am not affected by objects. That means I am not affected by cause and effect. I'm not born, I'm not an effect. So I am pure consciousness. I am the Shaitaraknya, changeless Shaitaraknya, timeless Shaitaraknya, spaceless Shaitaraknya, which is what is my real Swarupam, is explained directly by Taittiriya Upanishad in this mantra. Chapter 2, verse 1 and 1. This is the verse which says, Om Brahma Vidal Apnoti Param Tadepya Bhuktam Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman Soshnute Sarvan Kaman Saha Brahmana Vipaschiteti. Very, very important. It's one of the most often quoted verses in the spiritual study. The first verse in the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, called as Brahmananda Valli. Direct definition of Sat Chit Ananda. I have used these words, but this is the source. This is the source which teaches me who I am. Very, very important verse. If you have been following the last 10 minutes, you would have realized Atma as your nature from this direct definition. Then Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana means with reference to an extraneous factor, we understand what is this consciousness. This consciousness, another name given to it is called Brahman. So the consciousness with respect to the world, when we try to understand what is this consciousness, we say that this consciousness is Jagat Karanam. Jagat means world, Karanam means cause of this universe. So whenever I see the universe, the body, mind, sense organs, and the sense objects, which we call it as the world, this whole is called as Jagat, the universe. It consists of 14 lokas, the entire cosmos. You can take galaxies, you can take, Milky Ways, so much. Limitless consciousness, a limitless world. And that comes from limitless consciousness, infinite in nature. There's no end to the world. There is no end to this consciousness. Consciousness is not limited by the world. It is an independent substance. That is why I can boldly say, I am what I am in my sleep state. I am that consciousness. Because it's not limited. Suppose it was limited to the body, it will undergo changes. When the body dies, the consciousness dies. But that is not the truth. Consciousness survives death of the body. Body is a physical 5 elements, gross, formed by gross 5 elements. But consciousness is different altogether. It is Atma, not Anatma. So that is what we use in some of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. We say neti, neti, not this, not this, not this. We keep on negating everything which we experience in the world. I experience sorrow. The Guru tells you are not sorrow. I experience joy. The Guru teaches me and says you are not happiness. You are not that happiness which the mind is experiencing. Drop it. It is not you. This is the benefit of the spiritual knowledge. The mind has got sorrowful thoughts for a length of time. And the study of this Atma helps me, the study of this Shaitaraknya helps me to drop off my mind as Shaitram, field. It is a field of experience, that's all. So there are two Upanishadic verses which talk about Jagat Karanam, indirect definition of this consciousness. Why is it called indirect definition? Because it is not directly telling me what is this consciousness, which we have seen as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. These three are technical terms. They have to be studied in the Upanishads to understand the full depth of its meaning. Then you will understand your own nature very clearly. You must have complete faith in the Shastras, in the study of the Gita and Upanishads, and say, yes, I will realize this Atma one day. Definitely. If not this birth, next birth. So what? If not today, maybe after 2 years, after 1 year. As the mind grows, nobody knows this, the quality of the mind we possess, nobody knows, because each one has a different type of mind. Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.1, chapter 6, the second section, the first verse, it teaches us logically how to analyze this Atma. And then Brihadaranyaka Upanishad gives us certain attributes to tell us that I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. In Taittiriya Upanishad, there is another verse. This is an indirect definition. It tells us Jagat Karanam. Yato va imani bhutani jayante, ena jatani jivanti. That from which the beings are born, that by which they are existing, and that into which they depart or they enter. So, very beautiful definition. Many people ask, what happens to us after death? This is a direct verse which teaches us. We become the same consciousness. Upon death, upon departure from this world, what happens to me? I go back to my nature, which is called as Brahman, which is called as Shaitaraknya. So in the second chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, you have the Swarupa Lakshana, the direct definition. In the third chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, you get an indirect definition, and that is consciousness is that in which the whole world rises, it exists, and it dissolves. Consciousness, like space. You can say the whole universe is in space. But now what the teacher, Lord Krishna, teaches us is, he says, you are Shaitaraknya. There is something beyond space, beyond the waking and the dream and the sleep states. That is called as Shaitaraknya. That is called as the ultimate essence, the spiritual essence in us. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, I just told you, in the third chapter, there it says, the teacher, he tries to explain, the Yajnavalkya is the teacher there. He says that you are not this, you are not the gross, you are not the subtle, you are not short, you are not long. You means the consciousness. Consciousness does not have any attributes of the body or mind or ignorance. Consciousness does not have the causal body also, which is called as ignorance. So it is not this, not this, not that. You can't see, you can't hear it, you can't touch it, you can't. So many things, it's just neti, 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 that's all. So by doing all this, what do I understand? I am not this, I am not this, but I am Atma. I am the Shaitaraknya. I am the knower of this entire Jagat. Same thing has been described in Chandogya Upanishad. Very beautiful verse, is a very, very often quoted verse by almost all the commentators. Sadeva Saumya idam agre asi. Ekam eva advitiyam brahma. Ekam. Ekam means only one consciousness principle was there before this creation. It is also existing now. It is always existing as Ekam, non-dual. So right from the beginning, beginning means what? Beginning of this entire universe. Beginning of this, if I look at it from the body angle, before this body, who was I? I was this pure consciousness. I was this pure awareness. I am this awareness even now when the body and mind are in the waking state. Consciousness does not have a state. Mind has got a waking, dream, and sleep states. Consciousness is a witness to the three states. This comes from Chandogya Upanishad. This is also an indirect definition, tatastha lakshana. Because with reference to what my experience is, it is describing the consciousness. It was there in the beginning, it will be there in the end. So world was in the form of pure existence, one non-dual truth. Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna to listen carefully this verse. Shrunu, he says Shrunu. Whenever in the Bhagavad Gita, when Lord says Shrunu, means you have to pay extra attention from now to understand. Shrunu means don't look here and there, but listen carefully. I'm going to give you the full description of Kshetram. He catches the attention of Arjuna and he starts with the characteristics of the Kshetram, the inert realm. Kshetram means inert. It doesn't have sentiency of its own. Mahabhutanya ankaraha buddhirabhyaktamevacha indriyani dashaikamcha panchachendriya gocharaha. This is a verse 6, 7. These two verses will describe creation. See, creation is described in many, many different ways in the scriptures. There are 26 different types of creation theories which are there in the scriptures, in Puranas, in the Itihasa, in the Upanishads. You find different, because ultimately we should understand the emphasis is not on the creation, because ultimately we are going to drop it. So here it's an academic exercise for us to understand analyze whatever we are experiencing. So verse 6 is talking from a cosmic angle, and verse 7 will talk from the individual angle. What is creation? Now, those who have attended the chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita with me will understand these two verses which I had taken, and that is an explanation of creation in the 7th chapter. How did Lord Krishna describe? Because in each, some of these chapters, Lord Krishna describes in different ways. In the 7th chapter, you will understand 7th and 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, two words were used. Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. Bhumi Rapo Nalo Ayuhu, Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha, Ahamkara iti yamme Bhinna Prakriti Rashtada. This is Ashtadha Prakriti, which is the same as Dakshinamurti Stotram, eightfold creation. This is cosmos. We are now talking about the whole creation. In these two verses, just listen. Only for academic interest, you just understand what this whole how these 5 elements have been arranged in such a way that we experience this world. So in the 7th chapter, the Apara Prakriti, the lower nature, is described as the 5 elements. There he said 5 elements: mind, intellect, and ego. 5 plus 3, 8. That 8 is called as Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is the same as Shaitram. Same. Matter, principle, inert. That's all you should understand. Anything which is matter, which is body, is matter. But what makes this body sentient? What is the meaning of sentient? Sentient means I can feel it. When I touch it, I am touching it. I am touching the sentiency, that consciousness. That consciousness is called as sentiency. It's like the electricity principle which exists in a bulb. So that is called as the lower Prakriti. The lower Prakriti is Apara Prakriti. Para Prakriti is the consciousness, the higher nature, higher Prakriti. Ishvara manifests as the creation, means he manifests as the 5 elements. He manifests as the cosmic mind. Now, cosmic mind for us is very difficult to understand. My own mind is very difficult for me to understand. Now you're telling me cosmic mind. Basically, cosmic mind means the laws of planetary motions, gravitation, the forces, the chemical forces, the biological forces, that rain, sun, moon, nature, whatever we call it as nature. There is a intelligence behind that. That intelligent principle is called as the cosmic mind. It is also called as the Hiranyagarbha. In the Upanishads, when you study, it is called as Hiranyagarbha, or the subtle mind. Cosmic intellect. So here we are breaking into mind, intellect, and ego. Like how we break it up into our own body. I have a mind which is full of emotions, intellect which is full of thoughts, and ego which claims that this mind is me, this body is me. The claiming is done by the ego. So similarly, for this whole creation, there is an ego, cosmic ego. So this is how Lord had created this entire world. This is how is the description in this chapter, in the 13th chapter and in the 7th chapter. Kshetram, which we are discussing in the 13th chapter, is the same as apara prakriti, matter principle. The 7th chapter calls it para prakriti. Para means higher nature. The spiritual principle, that is the same thing described here as Shaitaraknya. It is a consciousness witnessing principle. In the 15th chapter, which we will study later, I'm just quoting it here. Urdhva moolam adashakam ashwatham prahoravyayam chandamsi yasya parnami yastam veda savedavit. In the 15th chapter, what they say is the apara prakriti is the branches and leaves like which are seen in a tree, whereas the root we cannot see. But they exist below the earth for a tree. But in this case, we say it is beyond. It is above. Above here means beyond. So what is invisible is the Kshetrajna. It is the Sakshi. It is the spiritual essence. It is called as the Paraprakriti. Chandogya Upanishad talks about the whole universe has come from 3 elements: earth, fire, water. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Tasmat va etasmat atmana akasha sambhutaha akashat vayuhu vayor agnihi agneropaha, so on. So here in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it says that from Atma, from this consciousness principle, these 5 elements came up: space, air, and the other 3 elements which we have seen in Chandogya Upanishad. It just tells you that there are so many different, and then what happens from this earth, all the 5 elements, the earth, from the earth comes the food, herbs, and from food comes the man. Man means a physical man, not the spiritual essence. Spiritual essence is Atma. The physical body is the man which is born of food. It exists in food. It goes back to food. The essence of all of us is the food which our parents have taken. That constitutes this body. Again, the body is born. Again, the body goes back. It is the cycle of body which keeps on going and coming. But the essence is this Shaitaraknya, which is the consciousness which never has birth or death. That is the discrimination we must make when we study this chapter. That is why it is called as Vibhaga Yoga. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga Yoga. Every verse I try to understand. Always keep the Atma consciousness as the seer consciousness. And learn verse by verse. This is Kshetram. This is my mind. The biggest knowledge we get in this chapter is how to treat the mind as Kshetram. Very beautiful verse will come after 2 verses. We'll study that. So creation theory in this verse is consisting of 24 factors. Here, what are those 24 factors? I have enumerated. In another slide, I will give you Tattva Bodha's definition of how creation is. Here, 24 factors refers to what in this chapter Bhagavan is saying this creation is. He said this creation is Prakriti, which is called as Moolam. Moolam. Prakriti means also called as ignorance. Mula avidya. There are different names. It also called as the sleep state. So different names are there. Avidya is another name. So all these are just names. All describe only one thing. They describe ignorance. Then comes cosmic mind, cosmic ego, cosmic intellect, which we have seen so far. We have to add one more thing, the chitta memory, cosmic memory. Cosmic memory is the Karana Prapancha. All the impressions of the mind are gathered and kept in the Karana Prapancha. So cosmic Ahankara is there, which is the Sukshma Prapancha, consisting of the mind, ego, intellect, and memory, which is Vyaktam. Vyaktam means manifest. Avyaktam means unmanifest, which is the ignorance, or what we call it as the Pralaya Avastha. Pralaya means before the creations came, what existed was this Mula Prakriti or Karana Prapancha. So Sukshma Prapancha, Karana Prapancha we have seen. Then what happens is the 5 elements, the 10 sense organs, and the 5 sense objects, these are all the other factors which make the 24 in number. If you count all of them, you'll see 24. In this chapter, in this, what he is saying is, this is another chart. I'm just putting it all so that you can just keep it as a reference point. Even if you don't understand most of details of this, doesn't matter. Like cosmic ego, cosmic mind, you don't need to, you just listen to it just for understanding. So what they say in Tattvabodha is, this creation has come from 3 gunas. This is another format. Okay, I'm giving you different formats so that you get a fairly like a buffet of creation theories. 3 elements is one, 5 elements is another one, para prakriti, apara prakriti is another one, 24 factors is another one, 22 factors is another one, 3 gunas. This is going to be explained to us more in detail in chapter 14. But this is the basic way in which Tattvabodha explains to us the creation. From Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which is together called as Avyaktam or Prakriti or Karana Prapancha or Anandamaya Kosha, that all these are all basically mean the same thing. It is the 3 gunas together, invisible. From that comes Mahat. Mahat means it is the cosmic intelligence. From that comes the ego. That means what it really means is, from my sleep state to waking state, all this is coming, all this is happening. But it all happens in a split second. And why this is given is because the human mind wants to know, what am I experiencing in this world? I'm experiencing jnana indriyas. That means I have got the 5 sense organs of knowledge. Where does it come from? It comes from the sattva guna of Prakriti. Sattva guna means it is knowledge principle. That ignorance, that avidya, that unmanifest nature has got three characteristics. One is sattva, second is rajas, third is tamas. So from the sattva, from the knowledge principle, all the sense organs are created. Organs of knowledge, eyes, ears, skin, touch, nose. Then from the karma, then from the rajas aspect, that means activity. The origin of this organs of action is the rajas in the nature. In the nature, we find knowledge, activity, and inertia. All 3 together is called as sattva, rajas, and tamas. And together we can call it as Prakriti. So from the rajas, we get all the organs of action and the prana, pancha prana. All the digestion which happens, the circulation of blood which happens, the inhalation, exhalation, which we do, that is all nature. That is all Kshetram. That is all Prakriti. And then tamas. Tamas means we go to sleep. Every day we go to sleep because of the guna in the mind. These are all three gunas they express in the human mind. From the sattva guna, also the antakaranam is formed. This we have seen in Tattvabodha. I'm just explaining to you. And then from the subtle elements, the gross elements are formed. And from the gross elements, there is a process called as Panchikaranam. For those who have done the Tattvabodha, if you remember, we have seen how each element divides itself first, and then each of those elements, the divisions, if you go back to the notes, you can remember they all again subdivide. This is atomic physics, in the Vedas. They explain to us how the elements, they combine to each other and then they form the gross element. So what the gross earth which we are able to experience from the smell is the gross, is after Panchikaranam. After they have formulated, they come into this gross form. Only when it is the elements, subtle elements form into gross nature, the sense organs can perceive it. The water which we taste is the gross water, but it had existed as subtle water. And it had existed as the gunas. So the sense organs, when they start when they perceive, it is called as the manifest properties of the five elements. That is what which we see, which we touch, which we taste, which we smell. So you see how beautiful the creation is explained in Tattvabodha. And the Indriyanis, these are all charts from the Tattvabodha. The five organs of knowledge are called as Jnana Indriyas. Organs of action are called as Karma Indriyas. Pancha Indriya Gochara, that means the organs of knowledge and the organs of action, they interact in the world, and then what happens is they cause experiences. All this is Prakriti, all this is Shaitra. The chart below tells us what are the objects, sense objects. The sense objects are called as Shabda Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. The Shabda, the sound belongs to the space element. And the space element creates the ears. Air, Sparsha, whenever you touch anything, that it belongs to the air, Vayu Tattva. And that is skin. Ultimately, we experience it through the skin. Agni Tattvam is Rupa, eyes. Taste is in the tongue. It is formed from the water element. The predominant element in the tongue is water. The predominant element in the eyes is the fire. The predominant element in the skin is the Vayu Tattva, predominant. Then Prithvi is the smell, which is the nose, which pertains to the nose. Now here the next verse is the individual. What is the creation at the individual level, which we will see next week. I'll just introduce the verse. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sangasteshatana dhritihi etak kshetram samasena savikara mudahrutam. Desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, they're all nothing but Shaitra. This is a very important point, and the mind is being described here. These are the modifications of the mind. Desire is a modification in the mind, and it is Shaitram, it is Prakriti, it is made up of three gunas. It is not me. The ultimate sentence, I am Shaitaranya, is important. So we'll continue with this verse next week. And then this is the 7th verse. This is the end of the Shaitram. Then from the 8th verse onwards to 12th verse, the Lord Krishna will say, what are the values we should have in order to appreciate the Shaitaraknya? We must develop some values. So different values are taught from verse number 8 to 12, which we will take it up next week. 7th verse is the description of the creation at the individual level. How do I experience this creation? When I have thoughts in my mind, the Sakshi in me is the seer of the thoughts. And that is at an individual level. Your thoughts are illumined by Sakshi. My thoughts are illumined by the Sakshi in this body. My daughters or the sons' thoughts are illumined by the Sakshi in their bodies. Sakshi principle in the universe is the same, like the prana shakti. All of us, we breathe the same oxygen and we survive, the body survives in the same oxygen principle. Similarly, all the thoughts in the world, in every body, is known by one Shaitaraknya. That principle is called as Sakshi. That is the highest nature. That is called as Prakriti. That is what the Lord wants to reveal in this whole chapter. So with that, I will stop here, and then we'll continue with this slide 36. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. There are no questions in the chat board. I would like to know if anybody has any questions. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? So you can ask the question if you have anything. Yeah.
Shekharji, this was a highlight of Panchikaranam today. Little bit of Panchikaranam was explained today, is it?
No, it was not. Yeah, it was explained in Tattvabodha. So what it means is, if you go through the Tattvabodha notes, which you are doing now, this whole explanation of how element, the subtle element becomes gross element. The subtle element undergoes a modification, like we study in atomic physics, electrons, neutrons, protons, how they are in motion, and how the energy, they have that energy, they always are in motion. And what is exactly what we are, all of us are experiencing is only energy. According to science, we are only experiencing, the whole world is nothing but energy in a different form. Now here, the same topic is dealt in the Vedas as the process of Panchikaranam. Panchikaranam means originally there were only from the three gunas of Prakriti, the nature, there were subtle elements. Now, subtle elements, they became gross elements by way of panchikaranam. Panchikaranam means it is a process by which one element, it divides itself first into two halves, and then again it divides it into four parts. So there are five parts to the half portion and one half. So they all join together. That means there is, we have the five elements. So we have earth, water, fire, space. So the five elements are there. They all divide into half, each of them. Then what happens is the earth element, it combines with 1/4 of the other four elements. That means it combines with 1/8 portion of the air, 1/8 portion of the space, and so on. Similarly, air also again combines with the other four elements, 1/8. That means you have half plus 4 times 1/8. That means half plus half. So if you do the study properly, if you go through the chart, if you go through in the Tattvabodha, there is a chart. So there in that chart, you will be easily able to understand. It is only they are only trying to explain to us how I am able to see certain things and I am not able to see certain things. What they say is the gross world which my sense organs are able to perceive, that is the grossness. That means it is after the process of mixing up of these five elements. Whereas the mind is from the subtle elements, is born out of subtle elements. Therefore, I am not able to perceive it. I can't, it is not tangible. Like I can see a form of a tree, I cannot see the form of my mind. My emotions, I can't see. So this is only to explain to us that all I'm experiencing is only Shaitram. Shaitram means what? It is nature. And what is my real nature? My real nature is I am the seer. Seer means what? Not through the eyes, but consciousness. And what is the, how do I know this consciousness? The consciousness can be known only in the mind, as it can be cognized. Cognized means what? I know that there is a seer for my thoughts. For example, I felt I have different emotions. I love my son. I have anger. I have jealousy. These emotions are there in me. So how do I know these emotions? I have fear. Fear is nothing. I'm telling you, fear is nothing but except a thought. It is just a thought. It's a thought which comes in the mind and it will go off. After some time, the fear thought will go off. I have a fear of insecurity. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know, have money. These are all only thoughts which come in the mind. So here what we are describing is that through the process of this Panchikaranam, which my best advice to you is to go through the Tattvabodha notes. If you still don't understand, you can speak to me.
Thank you, Shekharji. I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Akshay is saying, Advaita says we are not this body or mind, and we are witnessing consciousness. Can anyone explain what is witnessing consciousness? Normally, we experience or witness this world with our senses. How can we experience or witness this world without the help of body or senses? Okay, good. Very good question, Akshay. Okay. I don't know whether you have heard Drigdrishya Viveka. If you have not heard the Drigdrishya Viveka, that means there is a textbook which is available. It is there in my, there are videos available in my website. If you need the videos, I can send it to you. Basically, if you go through those first 5 verses of Drigdrishya Viveka, you will be very clear as to what is this consciousness. I'll explain to you in a nutshell. See, what happens is, first of all of us are seeing the external world. So for the world, what is the seer? The first seer for the world is the sense organs. My sense organs, my eyes are seeing a tree. My ears are listening to the talk. So the sense organs are the first level of seeing. This is what is the method adopted in Drik Drishya Vivek. Then, so in the seen objects, my eyes is one, but it can see so many objects. Thousands and millions. It can see stars, it can see cosmos, it can see the world, so many things it can see. So seen is many, but eyes are one. So this is point number one. Second level, there are 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue. Who is experiencing all this? I. When I say I, what in me is experiencing this? It is the mind. The mind is awake in the waking state, and I am the same. When I say I am listening, I am hearing, I am seeing, tasting, I is common. We don't say that different people in me, in this body, are experiencing different sense organs. The seer of the sense organs, when I say seer, means experiencer of the sense organs, is the second level, which is the mind. One mind sees means experiences 5 sense objects. So objects are many for them, but the mind is one. Initially, the objects, external objects were infinite. The eyes were one, the ears were one. Then for the 5 sense organs, the mind is one. In the sleep state, what happens? The mind goes to sleep. The sense organs go to sleep. When the sense organs go to sleep, the objects are not experienced by the sense organs, and the mind cannot experience any world. This is the second level. Let's go one level deeper. When the mind is waking state, the entire sense organs are available. When the mind is sleeping, I am the seer who witnesses the sleep condition of the mind. It is the consciousness, Atma. The 3 states are the 3 states of consciousness. Waking is a different state of the mind. Dream is a different state of the mind, in which only the impressions are seen, which is called as the vasanas, karana sharira. Impressions in the karana shariram, in the causal body. So the 3 conditions of the mind are known to somebody. Definitely it is known, because I only say in the morning, I get up and say, I went to sleep, I had a good sleep. I had a good sleep, we know because there was a witness principle, a consciousness principle. That consciousness is called as the witness. It is called as a sakshi only when the mind is awake or the mind is inert or a passive condition. It is restful condition. It is semi-active condition in dream. It is an active condition in the waking state. This consciousness, which is only a witness, it also exists without being a witness. That is what you should, that is the ultimate teaching. That is why it is called as the independent Satyam. The absolute core essence in me is this pure consciousness which exists by itself. Whether the body is there or not, it doesn't care. Body exists, okay, it is illumining the mind. Body means it is always existing together with the mind. And whenever the mind is there, my reflection, here my means what? The consciousness. My pure consciousness, which I am, that is my real nature. That is what is called as the Shaitaraknya. That is called as the real Purusha. It is not a male or a female. It is not a young or a old. It is not short or tall. It has got no attributes. That is my real final condition. With reference to the mind, it is called as Sakshi. With reference to itself, it is called as Sat Chit Ananda Atma. So Akshay, is it clear? Akshay?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice. Yes, thanks.
Is it clear?
Yes, almost.
Very good. So go through Drigdrishya Viveka, whatever explained to you in 10 minutes, you can listen and your own mind will get to know and realize the Atma. Very beautiful. Drigdrishya Viveka is a beautiful text and it goes very deep. Good. It's a very good text. It's a good question you have asked. This is a, and with reference to that, consciousness is what is called as Advaitam. That nature of Sat Chit Ananda is called as Advaitam because it is non-dual. Non-dual means that Sat Chit consciousness is only one principle. It is not, there is no two consciousness. What about the world? World is mithya. Mithya means it appears, it disappears. Appears, disappears. Like my reflection in a mirror, I am always there, but my reflection will come only when the mirror is there. Somebody brings a mirror in front of me, you will see the reflection. That is my reflection. My reflection will make the mirror sentient. So when the mind wakes up in the morning, what happens to me? In my mind, that consciousness is shining. When I refer to my mind, I own up my mind, I become a jiva. I go through the whole morning to evening. I sukham dukham. I say I have a stomach ache. I've got a pain in my body. These are all with reference to the body. Or and today my boss scolded me. I have too much work. I don't know how to finish my work. Is all with reference to the thoughts which are there in the mind. Okay. Okay. Very good. I got you. I see a message. Anybody else has any other question? I was not focused on your answer. Probably want to hear it from you once again on what you explained to Akshay. Okay. Let me repeat one more time what I explained to Akshay. See, Drik, Drishya, Viveka. Drik means seer. Drishya means seen. So I'm trying to identify that consciousness in this body, the seer, the ultimate seer. The ultimate seer is called as consciousness, Shaitaraknya. You can give it any name. In different texts, in different chapters, you will find different names given to the same consciousness. So I want to know the ultimate consciousness which I am, which the Bhagavad Gita is telling me that is my real nature. So here, in the Drigdrishya Viveka, in the first 5 verses of the Drigdrishya Viveka text, if you go through those 5 verses carefully, you will understand consciousness is my real nature. If you're really interested, please go through the Drigdrishya Viveka. If you want, I can send you those 5 verses. You just write to me. What it means is, first of all, how do I experiment this? I want to know myself. I want to know my nature. Earlier I had said, I am. In my office, I am. At home, I am. In India, I am. I am is not limited by the space. I am is the same. That means it is not conditioned. It is not conditioned by where you are. You may be in Singapore, you may be in India, you may be in London, you may be anywhere. But I am, that consciousness is not limited to space. I'm explaining to you what I explained to you earlier in the lecture, then I'll come to the Drigdrishya Viveka. Because that is also related to the same topic. If you understand the first methodology, you will understand the second methodology. Because the first methodology is a very, very deep topic. But I'm trying to explain to you the deepest topic in the Vedanta, which is called as I am not a limited person. So I am is the constant, and it is not limited by space. So that portion is understood. Then second is what? I am not limited by time. Last week, I listened to the talk. Today, I listened to the talk. Time is different, but I am is same. The listener consciousness is the same, the sentient principle. In me, the cells have undergone change. My body is made up of billions of cells, continuously changing. The pranas is changing, the blood is changing, circulation is happening, the prana is keeping this body alive. But the consciousness is the factor in this body which has not changed. Yesterday morning, or forget about yesterday morning, today morning, I am. At that time, when I said I am, only that I am means it was present. Always I am is always present tense. Even now I am saying I am. So it is, I am is not changing when the time changes. Morning comes, afternoon comes, evening comes, the time has changed, but it is not, I am, that consciousness in me has not changed. So time is not affecting that consciousness. If you have understood this too, you will be able to discriminate consciousness with reference to time and space. This is one aspect of knowing this Atma. Now, come back to Drigdrishya Viveka. We are going to use, it is the same consciousness we are trying to explain and understand with reference to the world of objects. With reference to the world of objects, the first seer, the level 1 seer, is the sense organs. Eyes are seeing the form and color. Ears are experiencing sound. Sound belongs to the world of objects. Form and color belongs to the world of objects. Similarly, smell. Similarly, touch. So all of them belong to the world of objects. Objects are many, but the sense organs which they are perceiving, they are one for each type of objects. For eyes, we see millions of forms and colors, but eyes are one. Similarly, my tongue is able to taste different types of taste, but the tongue which is tasting is one. So we can say that there are 5 experiencers in this body of the 5 sense objects in the world. First, seer. This is the experiencers, 5 experiencers in this body. Then you go a little bit, the second level. When these 5 sense organs are experienced only in the waking state. They are not there in the sleep state. They are all in passive condition. What makes the sense organs passive? It is the mind. In this body, I have a mind. This mind is one. It is able to perceive all the 5 sense organs. I don't say that my mind is 5. I say I have one mind, one ego, which is perceiving. I say I am tasting, smelling, touching. All this is the same I, the ego I. So mind becomes the seer. Seer means experiencer. And the 5 sense organs are many. One, many. Now let's go third level. Third level is waking, dream, and sleep. 3 states of the mind. Waking mind, dream mind, sleep mind. There are 3 different states because the experiences are different. In the waking mind, it sees the 5 sense organs, experiences the 5 sense organs. In this dream state, the same mind is only experiencing its own thoughts. In the sleep state, it just goes to rest. It is neither seeing the external world, it is neither seeing the internal world. It becomes one undifferentiated mind, which is called as unmanifest mind. Now, there is a seer for this 3 states of mind. This is the revelation of the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. What they say is the 3 states of the mind, there is a Sakshi, there is a witness consciousness, sentient principle, which was experiencing the sleep state. Only because of that consciousness, which was experiencing the restful state, we say in the morning, I had a good sleep. I am conscious that I was there in my sleep state, but I not in this form of what I know the world, or I know the sense organs, or I know my emotions, but consciousness is the one which is revealing. It is the light of consciousness. It is called as a light because it illumines the condition of the mind. This is what is the light of all lights. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there's one full chapter describing this light. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, na tad bhasayate suryaha na shashanko na pavakaha. That verse is describing this light of consciousness. So the 3 states are finally illumined by one consciousness, and that is called as Sakshi. This is the Sakshi which Akshay wanted to know. This is the ultimate one thing which I should learn from the study. You may have studied 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, but if you are not able to put this study into your own nature and realize this consciousness, then the final benefit you can get from the study, you may not get it. So you must internalize this aspect of the study. The study is good. You have done 18 chapters, very good. You have done the Upanishads, very good. But after 25 years of study, many people complain that they haven't found any benefit of the study. That is because they have not applied the knowledge. And I know many students who are listening to these Bhagavad Gita lectures overseas, they come back and they can discuss and they are able to apply. When they apply it, they can easily experience and know the final liberating knowledge of Sakshi. That is the essence of the entire study. Whether you study Dirdisha, whatever it is, but ultimately try to internalize this study into your own mind. Let the mind experience this pure nature of ours, which will give us the ultimate benefit. It will give us the fulfillment. It will give us the joy of learning. The moment that illumination happens in our own intellect, we feel tremendous lightness in our mind. All the pain which I was carrying on for years in my mind, they all vanish. One small drop, that is why it is called as Amritam, immortality. I experienced this immortality for a split second. That intellect, the moment it has a glimpse of this, it just bursts and it just gets into splinters. All the ignorance it had for ages, the darkness inside that ignorance is gone, vanished in one moment. This is what is described in the 15th chapter, Natad Bhasayate Surya. In that consciousness, the light of the sun cannot illumine, the light of the moon cannot illumine, the light of the fire cannot illumine that consciousness. It is the knowledge of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita which reveals to me this knowledge, this consciousness. Whenever it happens to whoever it happens, he feels fulfilled in life. I have achieved what I wanted. The rest of the things, okay, fine. I have earned money, I have lost money, I have, those things are all left back in the world. But this spiritual essence in me, once I have known it as my essence, that is the fulfillment of life. That is what is called as moksha. That is what is called as liberation. That is what is called as purnaha. I feel purnam. There is nothing else. Outside is not purnam. I am purnaha. So, but is it clear?
Yes, thanks for that long explanation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and, I think you are in precise words. What you're saying is the Pancha Kosha Vilakshanaha.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. The Pancha Kosha Vilakshanaha, the Avastha Traya Sakshi, and the three Sharirams. I learned to drop them and claim Atma. The Tattvabodha, the main Atma definition. Just keep that in mind. You have understood Sakshi.
But just one simple clarification.
Yeah.
In Akshay's question, is the last question he put was, how can we experience or witness this world without help of body or senses? Is it something irrelevant question, or otherwise how do you answer it?
Okay. See, basically it is irrelevant because that is why we say the world is mithya.
Okay.
The moment you understand consciousness, then the whole thing disappears. The world itself is an appearance. It came, it went. Even the class which I am conducting now, it is just a class. That's all. It came in consciousness. It will go away in consciousness. So we don't give too much emphasis on the world We learn to drop the world and just claim, I am that conscious. That's all.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything else? It's been a long session, but very deep in thought. I'm very glad Akshay asked this question because it shows that he has been thinking very, very deeply. Okay, thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Shaitan. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.